Dealing with family is hard. The rest is just gravy. Welcome to IB Suffer.
Sure.
The number one plot tagline of this movie is cigarette smoking.
Sure.
And then
All right.
stoner comedy. Man wears eyeglasses.
Yeah. That's
Man wears eyeglasses is before female rear nudity. So.
Oh.
Which I don't remember, but well, bad movie.
I have seen one of the worst things that has ever happened to me, and I cannot unsee it. Like, the movie in itself was, like, not good. I still think I've seen worse movies than this.
Yeah.
But there's a specific scene, and I'm sure that you know what it is, that was literally damaging to me. Like, it was one of the worst things that I've ever seen in my life.
Spoiler, is it the guy that fucks the turkey?
Yes!
Yeah,
What the...
I legitimately, like, as you were saying that, I was like, I don't remember anything in there being, like, that bad. And then I was like, oh yeah, somebody, like, yeah.
POV, and they show it to us, and I literally screamed. Like...
Good job, Tiffany. Good pick.
Tiffany is disowned from us both.
This is episode 326 of IB Suffer. I'm female rear nudity.
I'm the girl,
Your
apparently.
Man wears eyeglasses. Oh yeah, you're the girl on the podcast.
The girl on the podcast.
Dummy doesn't understand snakes.
Yeah. In my defense, number one, who would even knows? I don't even remember that movie at all. I also just want to say that just because something is possible doesn't make it normal, and like, I desperately need people to start Googling the definition of words before they say stuff to me.
Everyone,
thank you.
Just don't. Anybody in any comment section is immediately wrong about anything they're saying, in my opinion. Like, if you're responding to anything in a comment section, you're wrong from the get-go.
I agree.
No one knows what we're talking about.
No. That's fine. That's fine.
Somebody with a Triple H avatar on YouTube got very upset that apparently at some point in the King Cobra episode, we said something about the snake being 30 feet long and being like, why, or something. I don't know. They got very upset as somebody that raises snakes, that they could clearly all be over 30 feet long. It's like, bro, we've seen Anaconda. I'm aware. I know snakes can get that big. Also, 99% of the shit we ever say on the podcast is not serious.
Yeah.
Guess what? I don't think there's a real presidential bang bus.
I don't know about that. I just feel personally attacked by it.
Katie's a bang bus truther.
I am, because it's really funny because, like, this happened to that podcast Scared to Death that I listened to, where the host is like a husband and wife, and this is nowhere.
Like, tell the girl.
This is like nowhere near that level. But one time someone said, like, tell the broad to stop interjecting in the stories or whatever, and like, that is extremely rude. Shut the fuck up. Why are you listening to a podcast where that's like the whole point is they tell each other stories? Like, it's a whatever. And so, like, the person was not, like, rude, except that it's, like, tell the girl this, that, and the other thing, as if they like, literally were like, you tell that girl that, just so you know, by the way, I raise snakes. And I'm like, I'm not the only person on the podcast, bro.
I also just, like, was like, you know, it says our names right there.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, more likely we did not say real names in the actual episode, and that's probably the only thing they listened to. But, like, I'm pretty sure the description on YouTube says, like, you know, Nathan, Kit, and Katie.
Yes, exactly. Another point I had.
Luckily, that's maybe the second time. I mean, like, that Nightmare on Elm Street one wasn't, like, shitty. It was just stupid.
Yeah,
but, like, that comment, and then, like, early on, someone just sent us a DM, like, before you were even on the podcast, bitching that I say too much, and I was like, well, no one's making you listen, so, like...
That is the thing that, like, really...
Honestly, if you listen to the podcast, we actively seem to try to make it so people don't want to listen to it.
Yeah, there's no editing, the sound is all unbalanced, like, deal with it. That is, like, one of the things that is, like, so interesting to me about social media culture, whether it's, like, TikTok or Instagram posts, specifically podcasts, where, like, you're doing something for free that a person can choose whether they want to spend their time consuming or not, and they're going to tell you as if you're holding them down and, like, making you listen and being like, tell me everything that's wrong with the way that I talk, you know what I mean, or, like, whatever. It's just like, nobody gives a shit that you think we say too much. Don't listen. Goodbye. Like, right. Are you kidding? It's just so wild to me. And, like, I understand that this person is, like, obviously a snake enthusiast and wanted to be like, actually, like, oh yeah, it's totally, snakes can get up to 30 feet. Like, first of all, sir, I don't want to know that information.
But also,
as a person who doesn't like snakes,
you know that information already. Like,
right?
We are aware of, like, the giant ass, like, snakes in the Amazon and shit.
Right. And
like, it's also funny though that, like, neither of us have any idea of what we were talking about in that episode at this point. So it's even funnier, and I'm, like, not going to go back to listen.
Listen, I'm sorry. What episode did you say this was?
It was King Cobra. That
no, like the one we're doing right now.
Oh, this is 326.
Okay, King Cobra was 204. That was like 5 years ago.
I don't remember what happened pre-Frankie Frico.
I don't even, there's no way. Like, there are a few things that we'll talk about that would, like, I'll remember, but a lot of times when I, like, go back to re-listen to the episode, the same jokes will make me laugh because I do not remember saying or hearing them.
What I usually have happen is, like, Kit will say something that just completely,
or you don't hear it. Yeah,
went by us in the middle of, like, I'm either, like, paying attention to, like, something in, like, the recording program or something, where, like, I just didn't hear Kit say something, and then, like, I'll hear it and, like, listen back, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think too, if you're not somebody who, like, records podcasts, it's like you're literally talking stream of conscious to somebody else. You're not, like, it's just I don't know. I guess there are a lot of podcasts that are scripted. Ours is not. Like, there's, like, please, sir, do not send an entire paragraph to me, the girl in the podcast, about an episode from 2 years ago that is about snakes. Like, if you are that person or you feel inclined to do it, just, like, step away from your computer, because...
Well, it's also, like, the thing about, like, YouTube is, like, I just set it up because I was, like, you know, it was, like, a thing on the hosting site. It was like, oh, you can, like, have it go straight to YouTube. You just have to make, like, this weird YouTube-sized image for it or whatever. And I was like, all right, fine.
Yeah.
And it's, like, clear, it's where we get, like... not the most, like, listens, but, like, the most engagement. And most of it is fine because it's, like, honestly, that I all of the followers and, like, comments, like, 99% are on the Run and Kill upload, where I just, like, uploaded the movie on there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's fine. And it's, like, honestly, it's just, like, all, like, people from, like, like, fucking Thailand and the Philippines for some reason just commenting in a language I can't read, or, like, just being like, this movie was fine, but wow, that ending, or, like, what, you know, just shit like that.
Normal people stuff.
And so periodically, like, I'll look at, like, the analytics for it, like, maybe once a month, just because I'm just like, oh, let's see what's going on over there. And there's always, like, one comment on a random episode from somebody that, like, isn't a follower, that's always, like, weird or absurd. Like that Nightmare on Elm Street one.
Yeah.
And it's always about something where I'm just like, I do not know what you're talking about.
And also, like, I will say, yeah, the other thing too is that, like, unless you are people who, like, listen a lot or understand sarcasm or, like, know us, I'm sure we sound like absolute
Oh,
idiots
no, yeah. I
constantly, but
think
it's like,
I think
yeah,
that's where I was going originally, where I was going to be like, you also have to understand that like 90% of the stuff we cover, we like are A, watching for the first time, B, are not watching in any like serious manner because it's shit like, Amityville Tea House or fucking whatever. It's not like fucking a movie we're watching for like a serious critique of. It's a movie we're watching because it's bad and it's just like
yeah.
something we are gonna make fun of or talk about how stupid it is.
There are podcasts for actual intellectual conversations about movies, and this is not it.
No, yeah, that's the thing. Like the entire premise of the podcast is about watching
Dummies
terrible
watching
things.
dumb
So
stuff.
like, I don't
Leave us
know. I
alone.
don't know why anyone takes anything we say seriously in like 90% of the episodes, which I mean most people don't. It's just like
No, no, no,
it's
no.
it's always people that like just Googled or like YouTube searched like a movie they were interested in or whatever.
Yeah.
Because like it's like our most I listen to / viewed, because there's nothing to view on the YouTube one. It's literally just like a logo and then fucking the episode
The
playing over
audio.
it. Like
Sure.
all of like the top ones, the last time I looked, were like the top videos Run and Kill. Run and Kill's got like a fucking insane amount. Like
We're
into
famous.
in
Run and Kill streaming service.
like let's see. Top viewed, Run and Kill has almost 4,000 views. Our
Damn.
next top one is 39 views, which is a Ghost Adventures episode. And
Yeah,
like
hell yeah.
the top two actual episodes now are the Ghost Adventure ones, or two of the Ghost Adventure ones, and it's because people just
Yeah,
that like
sure.
Ghost Adventures will like
Oh,
look it up and just like listen to or watch videos
sure.
or whatever. And then it's like Erotic Nights of the Living Dead is the third one.
That's
And
wild.
it's like, and it's because people will, like I do it all the time. I use YouTube to watch movies a lot, where I'll just
Yeah.
like put in like whatever movie I'm looking for and like try to find a stream of that movie. And a lot of the times you get like podcast episodes. And so I think people just will randomly search for and then watch or listen to that episode, and like half the time it'll be like because you could see like how long people actively like listened,
Sure. Yeah.
and like a lot of the time it's 15 minutes, because it's somebody who has zero idea who we are,
Yeah,
just
sure.
like we're looking for whatever the topic is we covered, and just be like, oh, okay, this is whatever.
They've-
And it's like
they've
we're
got-
like we've talked about it on here, like we are, because when people will ask a lot like, well, should we listen to like the newest episode, or should we start from the first one? I'm like, I don't know. Our podcast is so fucking like so specific and like hard. I can't imagine it's easy to crack into from any angle other than starting from the beginning. But also I always tell people, I'm like, look, maybe check out like if there's like a movie we covered recently that like is something you want to listen to that first and then go back, because I'm going to tell you the first like 20 so episodes sound like shit, and like that's not that's not what the podcast sounds like anymore.
Right, yeah.
But like, also it's just like there's so many ongoing jokes that will not make any sense if you like start like, I know there's people that'll listen to podcasts backwards, and there's no way, I don't know how you could do that with ours, because it would like nothing would make any sense.
No, and like I dare say sometimes there's jokes that we all laugh at that like we don't ever explain to anybody. It was like a side conversation situation. And like that's how it is with people who are like friends that know each other or doing a podcast or whatever. And like what real quick, I wanna
I just need you to
yeah.
know, I think all 5 Ghost Adventures episodes are in our top like 10 on YouTube.
That's amazing, and I want to know.
This is
there's
a strange. Well, go ahead. Finish what you're saying real quick.
I was gonna say there's like there's like two kinds of people, right? Like people who watch Ghost Adventures and like take it seriously and think it's real, and then there's the other side of it. And so I really wonder how many of the people are like offended on their behalf because of like it's like, you know,
this is
we're not on their side, very obviously.
This is the most insane, like top, I think 10. I can't. It's like a not number. This is episodes, and I can't see what the rankings like. Which specific because it just says like episode 301 Ghost Adventures, then it's cut off, so I can't see like what.
Sure.
But yeah. It's like Ghost Adventures, the Erotic Nights of the Living Dead and Porno Holocaust one I did with Lori, number 3. Then it's The Greenskeeper.
Oh.
Then Ghost Adventures, then Vampire Riders, then Shocker, and then Ghost Adventures and Ghost Adventures.
See, I made a joke in the last Ghost Adventures that the people are clamoring for Ghost Adventures, and it's true. People love it.
I mean, like, 2 people love it or something.
Yeah, that is a lot, okay? Anyways, all to say, I wasn't actually obviously offended by that person's comment. However, it's really just the audacity of other people to, like, impose their selves on strangers that I wanted to speak to.
No, it's like I said, where, like, I think maybe the last time so Kit and I record an episode that drops after this, so my fucking brain is scrambled on the timeline currently. So I can't remember like when I talked about it, but the idea of like Spotify now having comment sections of their podcasts, where I'm just like,
that was our the last Ghost Adventures.
That's what I thought, but I'm just like, this is unneeded. No one needs this. Like, not every fucking thing on the internet needs a section where everybody can hear their fucking opinion. Like, what's wrong with just putting the episodes, like, just putting whatever podcast episodes out? Let them fucking go to Twitter or whatever to bitch about it. But, like, I don't need to open, like, an episode of Some More News and then just see, like, 10 comments from freaks that have only listened to that episode fucking complaining about it because they are fucking Trump supporters or some shit. Like, it's just unnecessary.
Yeah, I agree.
Leave a comment section under your Joe Rogan Experience podcast, and that's it. Let everyone else live freely from fucking everyone being dumb.
I think they just can't.
Well, that was awkward Thanksgiving.
Yep. See ya later. I hope you suffer, but why?
Yeah, so this is a Patreon pick. Tiffany, our patron, and both of our ex-friends.
Thought we were our friend, yeah.
So she picked this based on, this is a dude, the director of this is a guy from like the Dayton sort of like punk whatever scene that like we're both like aware of. She's maybe interacted with. I know I never did, but I'd seen him at shows. And she was like, well, I'm gonna pick this because it's just like a dude from Dayton. And it was coinciding that it was like November. Mm-hmm. And so instead of like, I would be slightly interested to see maybe one of the horror movies he directed, because I feel like in general that would have been like at least more leaning towards the things we like than like a weird dramedy around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But it was just the coincidences of being like, hey, I'm gonna pick like somebody for this guy, and like it's gonna be dropping the week of Thanksgiving, and he has a Thanksgiving movie, so it just like led to that. But like, oh boy,
yeah,
like I do respect the like there's not a lot of indie, you know, low budget filmmakers that are doing that, like make sort of dramas or comedies. It's a lot of the time it is like a horror movie or like a weird action type movie. Mm-hmm. And so like I like applaud the ambition, because like dramas and comedies in general are both two things that are very hard to pull off in a real way. and then trying to like combine the two, and especially with like what I'm sure was like no budget. But man, this is bad.
So
We should have watched a Bulldog for Christmas.
yeah, I'm gonna say that having said that, I feel offended by that man and his turkey. I will never forget that that happened to me. But I will say that like I actually don't think this is the worst movie that I've seen. It
No, it's not
was
good. Like Amity, like at least for the podcast, that fucking
no,
the Amityville
yeah.
Frankenstein is maybe still the worst.
Yeah. I will say that like maybe this movie would have I don't think it looked terrible. I think some of the people in it were fine. Some of the people were very bad. If this movie didn't have some extremely racist jokes and slurs in it, I would maybe give it a little bit more credit.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where it's like I get what he was trying to do with that because it's like, you know, the fucking the racist uncle
The
trope.
uncle,
But it's
fine.
also like, okay, you can do like one or two and
Yeah.
like get your point across. It doesn't need to be incessant that every time
No.
he's on screen he's saying like hard slurs.
Yeah. And like for no reason, which like don't get me wrong, I know this uncle. Like
Yeah.
I've been around this family member before. Like I get it. However, I do feel that I do feel there's a fine line between like showing us a character and like because there's like other people in the movie that also do really racist jokes for absolutely no reason, and it's the turkey guy too,
Yeah,
who is
he's
just
like
like
a YouTube fucking prank
sure.
video guy.
Like we get it. We get that he's a piece of shit. We can tell. Like it's fine. My other thing about it is it's entirely too long.
Yeah, I was gonna say like comedies should not be more than 90 minutes at
When,
the longest.
no, and it's like the problem I think with
Oh yeah, I'm
like
out in the living room, so you may hear Tenebrae playing with shit. Just FYI.
I did just now. Um, the problem with like dramas and stuff like that too is that most of the movie is dialogue, and if you're not great at writing dialogue, that's not good.
Well, also like again, it's just like a budget thing, but like dramas a lot of the time usually have like good scenery and like set design and shit like
Hmm.
that. And like the budget this was made with, it's just like it's literally like I think I said I just read because I was also pointed to the fact that there's a feature length making of this called Wishboner that I was not watching. That
Um,
like I believe they literally just rented a cabin like
yeah.
in, you know, that someone had for rent in Ohio. So like it's all just whatever was there. And so it's like it's kind of just bland to look at, which is like doesn't help that, you know, it's almost an hour and 50 minutes. It's not really great to look at. And then like it's, you know, it's these aren't like, you know, it's the thing we have a lot of the time in a lot of the stuff we cover where I'm like, these aren't necessarily actors. Like these are
Yeah,
probably
sure.
just real people that like want to be actors that are like friends with the director or like whatever. And so like none of them are necessarily terrible in it. They're just not equipped to, I think, pull off more of what maybe this guy thought he wanted to do.
Hmm.
Because like I think there is the premise of like what could be like a really interesting movie in here, just surrounding like a sort of dysfunctional family around, you know, a holiday that is known for dysfunction.
Sure.
It's just like it's just not something I think you could pull off really well on like a just no budget movie. Like you have to have sort of interesting things to look at. You have to have like really specific kind of dedicated actor. I don't know. It's just It's what, like, I think really low sort of budget stuff like this is just the reason like it thrives with horror and like
Yeah.
action and stuff is just because like you hey, stop fighting. You can fucking like distract, like if you get like a good special effects person or whatever, or even just a lot of blood, you can kind of distract viewers from the fact that it's
Yeah.
like not the best acting. Like it's
Yeah.
the same thing. That's the reason like I really like a lot of like SOV movies is like they're not acted well, and a lot of the time they don't look great, but like they're telling a good story and like the means of like whatever means they have, and it's just like being able to use your limitations to make them a positive or whatever can work really well in like the horror genre that I just don't think that is a thing that does with like no budget comedies or dramas. And it's
Yeah.
like I feel like a lot of the time when people are trying to do a low budget comedy, they lean too heavily on like offensive shit.
Sure.
Where like they all try to be like, well, I'm gonna make like my version of like Grandma's Boy or something, and you just get stuff like this where like we said, like I understand what they're trying to do with this like racist uncle trope, but it just is a thing where they just beat it into the fucking ground, and yeah, I don't know, it's not good.
Yeah, you said something like literally that I was going to say, which is that you need something to distract from the flaws of the movie, and this does not have that. So it's like obviously it stands out more. And I will also say this is called Awkward Thanksgiving. I didn't really find this movie like awkward in any way. And it says that in the description, long awkward silences between the characters, people were pretty much always talking. So I'm not really sure, like, so even that awkward thing, there's like, I don't know. I just like didn't get
Well,
that either.
the thing that like yeah, like I don't remember there being long awkward silences. The thing that
No.
made it awkward is it just seemed like a bunch of people like meeting for the first time that are supposed to be like a fucking lifelong family.
Yeah, the like the character, like, and like obviously we're saying like these aren't professional actors or whatever. They're supposed. It's the one of the things that I was also going to say I feel like this movie suffers from is that there's too many people
Yeah.
because then at first it's like introducing to this person, this person, this person, and I was like another fucking like what is going on here? And then the thing that turns up is that they're all like related and they show up to this like Thanksgiving together, but it's like there's no chemistry between a single person. Like not a single person has chemistry in this movie, and so that makes it even harder. Especially I wrote down a synopsis. It's literally only one page, so we can go through it.
Right,
But
yeah.
there is a man who is driving to the family, and it's like an 18-hour drive, and he ends up picking up a girl whose car broke down, and there are literally like 10 to 20 minute stretches of just them talking, of her being like, you know, quintessential like manic pixie girl, like crazy girl, whatever. And it's literally excruciating to
You-
watch these two people have a conversation.
I think you could have cut that entire
Yes.
thing and
Yeah.
made this movie a solid hour 25, hour and a half, and it would have been like infinitely more watchable.
Because like the
Like-
dude doesn't like he arrives at the very end of the movie and then it's just like, welp. And I was like, why are you here?
Yeah, like that was the thing. That was the issue I had where I was like for the most part, I felt like their storyline was the most interesting. Like, I didn't necessarily like either of them, but I was kind of like, okay, I don't know where this is going, so I'm sort of like at least intrigued by this, as opposed to the rest of them just being at Thanksgiving already and interacting.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's unneeded because like it doesn't lead to anything.
Yep.
and like, yeah, I don't know, just like kind of bogs the movie down a little bit, and where like you could have
That needed to either be gone or it needed to be the movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Like,
that should have been the
yeah.
whole movie with maybe some cutaways, like 2 or 3 cutaways to like the family at Thanksgiving, waiting for them to arrive, and the entire movie could have just been like him, like, you know, struggling with going back for, you know, whatever reason. Like, you could have done some sort of storyline with that instead. Like, but like, it does feel like it's two different ideas trying to be like smashed together into one that like just sort of didn't work.
Definitely.
One of the actresses in this is in A Meowie Christmas.
That doesn't surprise me at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to do like the quick? Because like that's the thing. It's like there's not a lot to talk about in this because it's just dialogue.
Yeah.
And like none of it I found was like interesting dialogue other than like the outside of like the one dude being the fucking YouTube prank guy. I don't necessarily think anything super interesting was happening.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I guess kind of the side story of the guy driving there that picks up this woman that is like, I guess teaching him to loosen up is what you're supposed to take away from it.
Yeah, for what? Okay, let's just get into it. I also, my very first note is Todd the Fox, question mark. That was somebody's name. There's no fox in the movie. I don't know what was that about? Confusing.
Was that like a character or was that like someone's real name? Because that's not even like listed on Letterboxd.
I don't know. No, it was like, number one, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have anybody's name written down.
Yeah, I could not tell you any of these people.
There's like 12 people. It was like in the credits, in the opening credits, weird. Todd the Fox. And I was like from Fox and the Hound? How does this relate at all? And I don't know. I never got the answer. The movie starts with somebody prepping veggies for Thanksgiving using a really nice knife, I will say. So now we're just like introduced to all of the people that end up being in this family. There's a couple who have a Scooby-Doo alarm clock that was pretty cool. And the weird thing is that like there's a lot of jokes in this movie that like I think are supposed to be funny because they don't make sense, but they're just like not funny. He's like trying to wake up his girlfriend or whatever for Thanksgiving. And he's like, it's Christmas, come on. And she's like wanting to sleep. And he's like, okay, I'll make you coffee. I know you like it just like me, hot, black, and half Splenda. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what are you talking about? None of those things are true, sir.
He is half Splenda. One of the things is true.
He's like downing Splenda. So it's just like a lot of stuff like that that's like, I think, supposed to be funny because it's stupid like and doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's so random, but it just doesn't land. It just doesn't land. We meet these two friends who, one of them just went through a really bad breakup. So the friend ends up being like one of the family members, and she has, was like trying to help her friend through the breakup. And it's like, turn off your phone, like come to Thanksgiving with me. Like, it's fine. Nobody will care. I actually did like the sister, this like specific actor. I liked them.
Which one is it?
Let's see.
I mean, I'm not going to know by name. Who was she in the movie? Like
the really short hair.
Oh, like the sort of like more punk.
Yeah.
The one that like takes the. I think she's supposed to be gay. That like the one. That
I assume so, but
I
didn't wanna...
because later in the movie, like the one girl that got broken up with like kisses her, and she's like, no, like I'm not doing this. Where like the straight girl wants to have some sort
rebounding
of like
with me. Yeah.
Revelation. Yeah. She was fine.
I liked her. She's wearing all black. She had a carabiner, so you know how it goes.
Yeah, she's very Hot Topic Katie.
Yep, loved it.
Also, current time Nathan. Because I also have a carabiner on my keys and shit still.
Hot Topic era Katie is current time.
Yeah. If I had hair, it would be black and swoopy.
That's right. Actually, pretty pretty accurate. Then we meet the really fucking disgusting YouTube guy who is doing racist jokes into the mirror.
He sucks.
Terrible.
Just unwatchable part of this movie.
I feel like I gave this half a star, obviously. I feel like I maybe would have given it 1 star if he did not exist.
Yeah.
He like really brought the movie down that far for me. And like, again, I get it, but you need to have some boundaries, I feel like. I don't know. Now we meet so everybody, this like opening introduction is just like introducing us to kind of like the troubles that every single one of these people is having, and then they all meet together as a family, except for the guy who I call Car Dude, because as I said, he doesn't actually make it to Thanksgiving really. So his opening scene is like so weird because he's like sitting in his car eating lunch, and some dude comes over and is like super irate because he's backed into his parking spot in a parking lot that's completely empty, so it doesn't matter. And this dude is like going off on him, and he's like, now I know that you're really not upset about the way that I'm parking, so tell me what's really going on. And he like counsels this guy who ends up telling him that he just hates his boss, and he takes it out on he like beats his wife or something. And I was like, what is happening here?
Yeah, so the first like 10 minutes of this movie, I was like, this just feels like somebody filmed like random scenes and just put them together. And like, eventually you discover like who these people are once they make it to the Thanksgiving. But I was like, you're just randomly introduced to people with like no context, and I was just kind of like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, it's very strange.
And like, I don't like, I'm going to assume that like maybe there's some sort of like, personal inside story to like, especially this, like maybe this is a story that happened to him or a friend or whatever that like they wrote into the movie. But I was just kind of like, it's so baffled.
So out of place.
Because it's literally, you're introduced to a couple that make like a weird joke. Then you're randomly cut to a guy in the mirror telling terrible jokes. And then you just cut to like this dude sitting in his car. I was like, who the fuck are these people?
Well, and that's why I'm saying that I feel like the car trip movie is in itself a separate movie, because the scenes with this character last so long. So like if you took out all of his scenes, it's a movie, like a separate movie, right? And that's just like what made it feel even more disjointed, because it's like, I don't know, it's just like very strange. So he's like having this like whole conversation with this like fucking dude who we don't actually even know. He's just like a guy in the parking lot. It doesn't seem like they're actually.
No, yeah, it's like, he's like the only car in the parking lot where I'm just like,
yeah,
who gives a shit?
Chill
like,
out,
why are you
sir.
mad that this? Also, why are you mad that somebody backed into a spot like?
I don't know.
In an empty parking lot.
Yeah, he's like, you're entitled, you're just breaking the rules, whatever. And so yeah, he just like is just like, yeah, I beat my wife. I don't know what to do. She just smiles at me, and they just like have a heart to heart. And I was like, okay. Then we meet a dude who is huffing Raid, and there's a lot of drugs everywhere, and he's like not even the main character of this scene. It's this other dude who owes him money for placing a bet or whatever.
Yeah, I was like, I don't even remember this.
And so the thing with this guy is that like, so a lot of the people we're being introduced to are people who are siblings. This guy who owes money is like their deadbeat uncle who they all treat like shit.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, he sucks, but
sure. Also the guy that was like huffing Raid had an SS tattoo, I'm pretty sure, and I was like, why is this happening?
Yeah, it checks out.
I mean, then I found out it was in Ohio, so I was like, oh, okay. Okay, here's another example of a joke that like doesn't make sense. He said, I'm gonna give you till Thursday or Friday to give me the money because I want it PDQ as fast as possible. And I was like, what does that mean?
That makes sense to me.
Okay. It must be an Ohio thing.
Yeah.
This is where we meet another person. I wrote another fucking family. Again, it turns out to be the same family, but now we're meeting the uncle's sister. So she's the aunt of all of the younger kids. And she's having a flashback about doing Thanksgiving, cooking Thanksgiving food with the mom. And she says, permission to hug, permission granted. And then they hug, and that's her like happy memory of the mom. And I was like, okay. So this is where we find out that the mom, aka the grandmother, is dead. So that's why everybody's like having a hard time about it, I guess. Or maybe it's, wait, is it the kid's mom? I'm confused.
I have no fucking idea at this
the
point.
Mother figure, the mother figure is dead. Okay. Oh, I wrote sister of friends. Okay, so it is the mom. Okay, this is another sister. There's like 5 of these people are brothers and sisters. Let's see. Car guy pees for a really long time, comes out and offers a girl with car trouble a ride. Let's see. Yeah, this was me trying to like piece together who everybody was in my notes. The dead guy is friend's deadbeat uncle. Okay. The friends was like the 2 girls in the beginning. Okay. Car guy is going to Dayton and offers to drive this girl that he picks up the whole way to her. She's going home for Thanksgiving. Also in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I don't remember where he says he's coming from, but like Indianapolis is like a hour, 20-minute drive from Dayton.
Yeah, so she says that's where she's going, and he's like, oh, perfect, because she's supposed to be getting to a bus station, but she lost so much time with her car being broken down, she says she's not going to make it back home to her family, and he's like, oh, this is perfect, because I'm going to pass through there, so I'll just drop you off, and she's like, wait, this seems weird, like, how do I know you aren't, like, a murderer or something, because I told you where I was going first, so this is weird. He's just like, okay, whatever, like, don't take the fucking ride if you don't want.
Yeah, but like, get out of my car then.
So then she says, okay, I'm going to ask you some questions to determine whether or not you're not a freak, and she asks, like, what his favorite movie is, and he's like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and she's like, all right. Like,
that, like, no, and like, she, like, it's played off like it's supposed to be like a fucking, like Red Flag or some shit, and I'm like, that movie is on like so many top American movies of all time. That's not like a fucking underground movie anymore.
Yeah,
it's one of the, it's almost like usually anytime there's like the greatest horror movies of all time list, that's usually number 1. Like, it's one of the most respected movies ever made. It's not like he said Amityville fucking something. Like,
yeah, it's not like he said like The Hitcher or something, like something pertaining to, exactly, Ghost Adventures, you know, like, it's
my favorite movie is Goldfield Hotel.
She asked him a bunch of other questions that like are very normal answers, but then they kind of are, like making a joke about it, and then she's just like, you're all right, and they shake hands or whatever. So she's gonna allow him to give her a ride. Okay. After this situation,
bitch, get out of my car.
Yeah, after this like interaction, their story gets so fucking weird. I also wrote, she's really weird. She, again, these 2 people have no chemistry whatsoever. And she's not pulling off, like, quirky weird girl, like, very well, in my opinion, but...
No, she's coming off like a completely fucked up person that I would not want to be around.
Yeah.
Like, I think she's supposed to be coming off very, like, early 2000s, like Zooey Deschanel.
Yes.
And like, it's just, she just comes off like somebody that I'm just like, I do not want to know this person.
No, not at all. So all of the people show up, and this is where we realize that like everybody is related. They've all shown up to the same house for Thanksgiving, and like the tradition is that they show up the day before Thanksgiving and spend the night. So yeah, everybody's like, yeah, this is when their dad, this is like one of the big issues with why Car Guy doesn't want to come home for Thanksgiving, and everybody has a huge issue because their dad, as I said, the mom has passed away. They don't explicitly say this, but I feel like maybe this is the first Thanksgiving without her. And so, the dad, who apparently is also like a deadbeat dad, like, left them before. I don't know. When the guy was like explaining the backstory with the dad, I literally tuned out. I was
Yeah,
like, I can't.
I don't remember like what the deal is about like is it, I don't know. There's two people in this movie like credited as like an uncle, and so I forget that it's like a dad, but like
Well, so there's that uncle, the racist old uncle, and then that other dude is their uncle that's like that owes the
oh
money.
wait,
So
yeah,
there are
there
two
are
uncles.
two
Yeah.
different, yeah. I don't know. There was something like the guy that's like with the like way younger.
That's the dad.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like for some reason, I was like, wait, is this one of the uncles? Like I just as seeing the credits, I was like, who are the two uncles? But yeah,
Yeah.
like there's an entire thing that like the mom and dad like split up, and he's now bringing his like
Extremely young girlfriend.
25-year junior fucking girlfriend that's like younger than all of them or
Yes.
something
Yep.
to
Yes.
Thanksgiving. So that like that's like yeah, it's
And like
dumb.
it's very weird because it's not like the thing that's like sucks about this movie not being good is that a lot of the issues that the people in the movie are facing are like totally real valid things. Like this happens where people like this situation does happen, right? And like that's why it just like kind of sucks because like all of
No,
this
yeah,
stuff
like
is like
all of
totally
this is
real.
real. It's
Yeah.
just like, and again, it's probably it just comes down to like a budget thing. Like I think you could
Yeah.
make a really like compelling version of this movie if like you just had like the means and skill
The
for it or
people.
whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's just like kind of unfortunate that it's like just extremely low budget and like again not like actors. It's just kind of friends and people that wanted to do. I don't know. It's like it's one of those ones like when I first got done watching it, I was like, I'm going to trash this fucking shitty movie, but I also
Yeah.
don't want to do that because it's like it's just not like it's not for me. I
No.
don't know if
Yeah.
maybe some of their like the dudes like horror stuff would work better for me based on like what is on Letterboxd. I know it won't, but I feel like I would have had a better time.
Yeah.
But like it's just like it's just like I think more than anything, it really comes down to the length of this movie. Like you spend
Hmm.
too much time with these people that by the end of it, I was like, I hate everyone in this movie.
And I think the other thing for me is like, yeah, I don't know this person. Obviously, I have some questions about again some of the jokes that are being told in this movie. Like it does raise questions, but like I'm not ever trying to like completely totally shit on somebody who is like trying to pursue a passion, right? I'm just being honest. Like it's
Yeah,
not good. Um, but I had the same thought, and I think it's mostly just because the thing that I hated more than life happens at the very end of the movie, and then I feel like the movie ends and like there's a quote unquote resolution, but like kind of not really to me. You know what I mean? So like when I was immediately done with it, I was like that. What I honestly expected to not say anything nice about it, so here we are. But
like
um,
it's one of those things that like you would not invite this fucking prank YouTube brother to your fucking family gatherings anymore if this is the way he acts. Like he would not be
yeah.
invited. He
Yeah.
one films a girl on the toilet and puts it on YouTube and talks about it the entire movie against her fucking wishes. He fucks the turkey that everyone eats. Like you would not invite this dude. This dude would be like
Disowned
blacklisted
from
from
the
your
family.
family.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and like there's like a moment where he's like having kind of like a heart to heart like moment with the dad's like young girlfriend or whatever, and it's like there's nothing redeemable about this person. They're like they just want to be famous on the internet. Like fuck off. Anyway, Yeah, so so everybody is like kind of estranged from the dad. It seems weird to me that the dad would show up in general, like who invited him, or whatever. He shows up and it's just like, hey, and they're like, oh God, fucking dad's here. And he shows up, like we said, with his girlfriend who was like way younger than any of the kids, which, yikes. And so like that's a whole thing, right? Um, there's yeah, the scene where the YouTube guy like this girl is trying to use the bathroom and he's like knocking on the door to like make her come out of the bathroom and then he scares her and it's like fucking weird. There's this scene between the couple where he's talking about like how much he hates his dad and like he can't believe the dad came and brought that girl. It's so weird. And he says, I want to shove his iPhone up his eye butt. And the woman laughs and then he's like, that's like it's so fucking weird what ends up happening with them because they are very much just like a normal couple, like dealing with his family or whatever. And he's like, that's what I love about you. Like, nobody else would have laughed at that joke except you. And she's just like, I just love butts. And I'm like, you guys seem perfect for each other. Then she's randomly just like, I'm not attracted to you anymore. We need to break up at the family Thanksgiving. And then she just fucking leaves. I was like, what is going on with that?
I want to do that to somebody so bad.
Uh-oh. Watch out.
Yeah, we'll break it up with Lex.
Aw, I'll take him.
Never.
Yeah, what if you're just like to Tanner Bray, like, just kidding. We're sending you back to the shelter. I'm just not attracted to you.
Just like the idea of showing up to someone's like family gathering to just break up with them on Thanksgiving.
Like, what the fuck?
Again, I wonder if that's a thing that's like a true
That's
story.
definitely, yeah, I'm sure. It's just like weird to me because they didn't seem to be having any problems at all. Like their whole, every time they showed them, they were just like totally normal people. Like, I don't know. It was just really weird. She was just like, I love you, but I want to break up. And I was like, what? Whatever. So then there's just like, again, this is where I was saying there's like a 20-minute interval with like the car guy and the hitchhiker girl like going to eat dinner and she's like ribbing him because he's boring and he's, I don't know, kind of like body shaming is not the right word, but like she orders pancakes and he's like giving her a hard time because of the carbs. And I was like, first of all, mind your fucking business. Second of all, pancakes are delicious, but like, but this like this is what I'm saying. This like banter between them is so fucking weird, and it's not cute, and it's not quirky at all. It's like a little problematic, but it's like. So then he's like, "Oh, okay, I'll show you cutting loose. Can I please have fries with my turkey wrap?"
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then anyway, they start like daring each other and she ends up eating like 3 tablespoons of butter and he eats a salt packet and it's just like fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's dumb. But like, so, I can't remember what we were covering that I brought this up. But like, this movie does the same thing where it's like almost no one, especially these two, at least the way it's filmed, never seem to be having a conversation in shot together in like the movie. It's always cutting back and forth of like where they're not having a conversation. They're just like delivering lines at each other, not on camera. And like it makes it feel so much more like they just have zero fucking chemistry. 'Cause like if you just filmed, you could have done a bunch of this in just one static shot of them sitting at the table, just having a conversation. And it would have felt more real than just cutting back and forth to their faces in separate shots as they just say a line, cut to the next person as they say a line, cut back to them saying a line. Like, it makes it feel way more disjointed and awkward and like, I don't know. I hate it. Like, like, especially if you're doing something like this, they're gonna have to like learn their lines to the point that they can like at least ad-lib a conversation with like hitting whatever needs to be said for the scene.
Yeah.
And to make it feel like they have any sort of chemistry or like anything going on.
Yeah, they don't. Um, so okay, it's Thanksgiving night now, and like again, I also don't really understand. Like, I guess that maybe this car guy's plan was just to drive through the night to get to the
Do
house
you remember
because like
where he says he was coming from, or does he say?
no, he whatever he said it was a 16-hour drive.
Okay. Yeah, I just couldn't remember because I was trying I feel like by the time I even fucking because like I said, like the first 10 minutes or so, I was just like, I don't know who any of these people are. I don't know how they're fucking
Yeah.
connected, and I was just so like checked out until you actually get to like everyone in like one place except for this guy. So I was just kind of like I forgot if he said where he was coming from. I just know he's coming somewhere from like the west.
Yeah, I don't know. So it's Thanksgiving night, and all the kids like sneak out into the living room because they have this tradition. And
This is the worst scene in the movie for me.
yeah, so they're like sitting in a circle, and the one like goth girl is like, okay, so we have like, okay, this is the real reason we all gather here. Like, this is our tradition. And then her friend, like breaks it in and is like, we have a tradition of my family where my mom would secretly decorate for Christmas and pretend it was the elves. And I was like, okay, great. And she's like, that's cute. But our tradition is a little
Edgy.
different. And they're like all looking at each other. The tradition is just that their mom was a pothead. So the night before Thanksgiving, she would just like smoke with one of them. Whoa.
Did they say it was with one of them? I thought they just talked about how like they just knew she did it, and so that was like their new tradition or whatever.
I thought, I don't know. Somebody said something, and like I felt like maybe she said with the eldest, but like that doesn't make sense because like why would the other ones know about it? I don't know. Whatever. The tradition is just that the mom was a secret pothead. Okay. And the one sister who was like in the army, who was so in order to honor them, they're all gonna smoke or whatever, and they like kind of rib the eldest sister who was like in the military, and she goes, "I've smoked a spliff or two." Meanwhile, there's this like conversation going on in the dark between the dad and his girlfriend where she's like, "Oh, I really have to go to the bathroom." He's like, "Oh, don't leave. Oh, it's so cold," or whatever. And she's like, "Yeah, I don't know where my pants are." And he's like, "Oh, it's fine. Everyone's sleeping. Just go out and go to the bathroom real fast," or whatever. She comes out absolutely naked, butt naked, into the hall, into the living room where everyone's sitting there smoking spliffs. And they're like, and she just like faints.
It's baffling and just clearly written to like have some nudity in the movie.
Yes, because and it's troubling to me because it's like the youngest girl, quote unquote, dad, whatever. He comes running. Also, girl, not being able to find your pants is like the least of your worries. You could have just put on like a shirt, right?
Literally
Anything.
put a fucking sheet wrapped around you.
Anything. No, she just, comes out naked. She passes out. The dad runs out wearing like a thong or whatever, and she's like, "Oh no, sometimes she wakes up in the middle of the night and takes her clothes off and faints. It's like sleepwalking, right?" And like the whole thing here is really just to kind of show that like they are going to treat the dad's girlfriend like she's a person because like she's not responsible for all like the dumb shit he's done to them, and it's kind of like they're not holding a grudge, so they like get her up, put a blanket on her, give her some water. And the one girl is like, "Oh, I'm training to be a nurse, so just let me know if you need any help." Like, that's like the only reason that this happens. Well, aside from the wanting to have nudity, probably. And so then she's like, "Okay, thanks, I'm fine." Fucking weird. Now we go back to the car guy and the hitchhiker, and for some reason they go into a haunted, quote unquote, haunted house. And there's like this whole thing where she like dares him to go in the closet, and then she's like scratching on the door to scare him or whatever. And like what ends up happening is that it's just a vacant house that she looked up on the internet that she brought him to.
Mm-hmm.
so that they can play.
Normal. That's what normal people
I'm
do.
like, I really expected at this point this movie to end with like her killing him because why? Why is this happening?
She's quirky.
So like, oh my Jesus Christ. So she scares him or whatever, and then they start playing Truth or Dare, which essentially leads to them having both of them having meltdowns about like their family, and he's basically just like, I fucking hate my dad, I can't believe he did this to us, like we're too good for him, he doesn't deserve us, then this, that, and the other thing. And he like has a fucking breakdown, and she's just like, okay, grow up, honestly.
Yeah.
Then she is essentially just like, her story is that like she tried to make it on her own and she couldn't, but she didn't want to admit that she needed help with money, and so she didn't come back to her parents, but now she decided she is. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I had like just no interest in
No.
any of her story.
And then this ends with him daring her to run naked through the backyard, which she does, and they show it. I was like, okay, again, great. For what?
I mean, like, I know it's just a thing where, like, you just had actors that were willing to do it, so they, like, put it in the movie.
I feel like that everybody showed up and they're like, who's willing to do nudity? And they were both like, I'm cool with it, I'll do it. And they're like, great, we'll write some random scene so you can be
like,
naked in it.
It's a thing, like, again, like, I don't buy her as, like, the quirky, free-spirited, like, person she's supposed to be portraying. And, like, so, like, almost anytime something like this happens, I was like, this feels so forced. It's almost embarrassing.
No offense, like we said, we know that a lot of these people are not, like, actual actors. She's the worst person in this movie, acting-wise.
Well, it's not even, like, I don't necessarily think she would be... Like, she's I could see her being good in other things. She's miscast as this character.
Yeah, sure. Okay, fair.
Like,
also, again, I just have to say the dialogue's bad. The script is bad. So if
it's also, like I said, it's a thing where, like, something like this, you have to let these people interact together and let them just talk while being able to, like, hit whatever like key moments you need in that dialogue to move their story along. Like, it's the reason that, like, for like a period, Judd Apatow was very good at doing the sort of like comedy with drama elements, because he would get a lot of like people that were good at like improving and let them just do a scene where you're like, hey, I need you to hit these beats, but just like talk to each other.
Yeah.
And like that's like, it's just what you need for something like this. And so not having people that could do that, and then like, I don't know, like, it's just like some of the people cast in these roles, I just don't think were like equipped for the roles they're cast in. And it just kind of makes it hard to watch, because you're just like, everything this person is trying so hard, but they can't do it because they're just not meant for that role. And it just makes it like, that's the awkward part of this movie.
Yeah,
it's like the entire time I'm just like, I feel like bad that like I like watching this right now.
Yeah, I would say this movie should be called Cringy Thanksgiving. Like, cringy is more appropriate than awkward, I feel like.
Yeah.
So, we're almost done. The only reason I wrote this down is because I was like, what even? The uncle, basically everyone's been like dumping on the uncle, the guy who owes money to that loan shark or whatever. Like, the whole time they're just like, take a hike, idiot, like whatever. He has a conversation with like the military daughter or whatever, who's just like, oh, I just really miss mom, it's not the same, like her and I used to always cook Thanksgiving together, whatever. Sure. And again, it's like, that is something that's like so real that people have to go through, that's like really traumatic, you have to work through, but there's just like no like heart behind the scenes in this situation. And the uncle basically is just like, yeah, I understand. Like, your mom was like the best sister. She was always there for me. And he basically just like tells the story about how there was like a bully at his school, and the mom like went to the school and like spit on the back of this kid's head. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Got him, I guess. What the fuck? Okay. So now it's Thanksgiving Day, finally. The girl, we'll see if any of this makes sense, okay? Because at this point I was like, I'm really done writing down.
I forgot real quick. The scene where they're like smoking weed.
Yeah.
Like, they do that thing where like they all take one hit and then all of a sudden they're just fucking like Cheech and Chong. Yeah. And I was so annoyed. So I was
That's
like,
how it is.
It was that scene for me was like the turkey scene for you, where I was just like, this is embarrassing.
I wish that I could scrub my brain of it. That morning, like, for whatever reason, the friend who like tagged along, who had her heart broken or whatever, like kisses her friend. And that's where the friend's like, hey, listen, like, I'm not going to be with, like, I'm not messing with this like straight girl who is just trying to like rebound with me. I care about you too much for that. And she's like embarrassed. So she runs off. This is when the couple have the conversation that Thanksgiving morning where she's just randomly like, hey, I'm not attracted to you. Peace out. When you get back from Thanksgiving, my stuff's going to be gone. Bye. And I was like, what the fuck? So she leaves. And she's like, oh, my car should be here. And he's like, what? You called a car? And she's like, it's a phone app. It's an app on my phone. And I was like, what? Why did you have to make this? Like, I don't know. It's just, that seems really weird to me that they had to add that. And so she leaves. He's obviously like really upset or whatever. And then the friend who just kissed the sister goes in and tries to sleep with him. And he's like, wait a second. I don't have a condom. And she's like, it's fine, I'm on birth control. And he goes, but I don't know you. And she is embarrassed, so she immediately leaves. And I was like, maybe just leave this family alone. They have enough problems. Okay. Very weird. This is when the guy, the loan shark, shows up. And the uncle is like, hey, you said I had until tomorrow. And he's just like, I don't know. He says some stupid pun or whatever. And then the sister's like, hey, come on in. The more the merrier. And I was like, don't invite random people off the street. That's how you get shot.
Yeah, that's fine.
This whole time, like, you mentioned this earlier, the YouTube guy was, like, talking about the video that he took that was, like, doing really well. And he was like, oh, this video has such and such amount of views or whatever. And finally the sister's like, you need to shut the fuck up about that video. Like, you're just going on and on about it. She's going through a hard time. Like, shut up. And he's like, no, not that video. This video. And he shows them, we see it, a, like, POV. He's holding his phone down and, like, literally the raw turkey in your face and, like, him. I just literally screamed. Like, it was so vile. It was so vile.
I mean,
but, like,
it's pretty hot.
He shows it to them as they're all eating the turkey that he had sex with.
Yeah, this isn't a prank. This is, like, essentially sexual assault in, like, some form. Like,
yes.
And it's like, you would not invite this person anymore, family or not.
No. Because there's, like, no way this isn't the first time he's done something like that, you know? Literally so vile and disgusting. And of course everybody's, like, upset because they've been eating this turkey. There's a brief scene where, like, the car guy and the hitchhiker, he finally gets her to her house and they're, like, in love now. Great. Mm-hmm. This is where I wrote, that's it, I'm done about the video, because please. The uncle's continuing to say racist stuff the whole time, like, for the sake of just saying racist stuff, which, again, I get it. Totally plausible. Like, I know that person in a family, right? Essentially, they're, like, just, like, you know, they're freaking out about the turkey video, and somehow it comes up that the uncle needs, like, $10,000 to pay his loan or whatever, and everyone's like, bro, like, we don't have that money. What do you mean? And the loan shark is just like, I want my fucking money. And he stands up and he has a gun. It is completely escalated at this point. He's like holding the gun to him, and he's like, you need to give me my money. And everybody is just like, I don't think so. You can't shoot our uncle, and like stands up for him, I guess. And the dad is like, you only have 6 bullets, but there's 7 of us. So what are you going to do? And I was like, I mean, he could shoot and kill 7 of you, plausibly. And so they basically all like stand up to the loan shark guy, who ends up shooting the YouTube brother in the shoulder and then like running out or whatever. And essentially it literally just ends with like them all coming out of the house. Well, the one sister, the goth sister, is like yelling to the phone, like trying to call an ambulance, and like she tells them the address, but she's like, I don't fucking know the zip code or whatever. So they're just gonna like drive him to the hospital themselves. So as they're all leaving the house, the car guy finally shows up and is just like, hey, and like sees the brother being rushed off, like bleeding to death. And he sees the dad, and the dad's just like, hey, what's up? And he's like, what happened? He's like, don't worry about it. Let's go to the hospital. Can you give us a ride?
Awkward.
And then they get in the car, and that's the end. And I was like, so, like, I guess everyone's forgiven the YouTube guy for what just happened because he got shot in the arm. Mm-hmm. They all just forgive each other and like, let's move on.
Yeah.
That's what family's about.
Yeah, you know. Nothing says like family forgiveness like letting your son that consistently makes an embarrassment out of your entire family for public spectacle. Mm-hmm. It's like literally this movie would be infinitely more watchable without that character.
Yeah, definitely.
It was bad.
Because it's not even like I understand the idea of having a character that's supposed to be hated. Like, I totally get that. This is not that.
Well, it's another thing. It's kind of like with the racist uncle, where I'm like, you've just keep pushing it to the point where I'm like, I cannot buy that this is like somebody that anybody would want to be around at even family. Like, It's just like unbelievable that anyone would be like, yeah, let's keep inviting this guy that is putting nude videos of us on the toilet on fucking YouTube and shit. Like, it just wouldn't happen. And so, like, if you keep they're like one step away from him just like releasing like fucking revenge porn of his family somehow or like it's upsetting, and I hated it. I hate that character, and I hate that Tiffany made us watch this.
Yeah. I obviously I sent you the screenshot, but I texted her like when I first started watching it, and I said, did you watch this monstrosity you're forcing me to watch? And she says, number 1, I'm so sorry. Number 2, I did not. Then she said, Nathan said it might be the worst thing he's ever watched, and I felt like I won a challenge that I didn't know existed. And I said, Nathan said he's never talking to you again. And she said that she felt she had to write a public apology. And I said, well, somehow Kit didn't have to watch it.
Yeah, Kit's work schedule fucking saved him. Because
you know what? I think Kit would have been like, you know what? Not bad.
No, Kit would have been like, Kit would have fucking hated this.
Yeah. Yes. But we've done it. It is what it is.
Next year we'll do a Kit catch-up episode where Kit has to watch this movie.
Take that.
All right. I'm going to assume there's no good news stories, especially because Kit and I recorded like Sunday, and I think talked about some things that will be a week old by the time, or like 2 weeks old.
Yeah,
by the time that episode comes out. I think the only thing we talked about that was interesting is like they announced that like one of these like secret Predator things that is getting worked on is an animated thing, which I'm interested in. But all right, what'd you watch this week?
let's see. We finished, or I finished Parks and Rec. Sad. So I was originally going to finally start and watch all through The Flash, but it just seems like a really big commitment for a holiday season, so I'm gonna push that off until January. Um, so I finished Parks and Rec, and then we crushed to say we did not make it through Prison Break, um, because it's being removed. We saw that, like, you know how if you're on it was on Hulu, it'll say
Yeah, it'll
like,
say like leaving in like
yeah,
3 days or
so
whatever.
we were in like still in season 2 because it got a little rough sickle, and it said like leaving in 10 days, and we were just like, well, say less, like. So
It sounds like it's one of those shows that like was probably made to be specifically just one season, but was so popular that they're like, well, we have to continue because it's like they break out of the prison. Like, where else do you go?
yeah, and like, I don't know. It's fine. The novice of it has worn off for me anyways. I saw what I needed to see. I'm gonna just Google what happens. Because I think it's like 4 seasons at least, 4 or 5 seasons, and I
Yeah,
was like, woof.
and I think they were like spread out. Where like I feel like it was like a couple years later they did like another season or something.
Yeah, that does not seem necessary. But well, it is what it is. I enjoyed what I had of it or whatever. So then we re-picked up where we had left off like years ago at this point with Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, yeah,
Which
did you ever finish like that as a show?
no,
Oh,
I think
interesting.
I think season 5 we started watching because we watched 4, we were watching 5 when it came out, as it was coming out or whatever, and then we moved twice since then or whatever. And so we just like didn't have, it's on Peacock. We just
Yeah.
like didn't have access to that anymore, and it kind of whatever. So we do now, and I was like, oh shit, we should finish Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So we're re-watching the season. I think we watched half of it, but I was like, it's been so long, let's just like rewatch it.
Did you
Um,
see Jake and Amy get married?
yeah.
Okay, so like yeah, I think you did.
Season 5 starts with them on their honeymoon, and like Holt's
Oh yeah,
there.
and he's like
Yeah.
quitting the force or whatever.
Yeah.
The
And then
finale's so good. I'm like
and then
very excited for you to get to the finale.
I know some of the other stuff that happens just from seeing,
Sure.
like screen grabs or whatever, but I'm excited to be watching it again because it's just.
It's a show that I don't think ever had like a lull. Like
Mhm.
there's a lot of those shows like, like I love Parks and Rec, but there's like parts where I'm just like, all right, well I don't really care about like most of the storylines happening right now. But like I feel like Brooklyn Nine-Nine kind of stayed pretty consistently interesting for me.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I'm excited for you. Like
It's
I right now I could not tell you what most of the final season's about, but I remember the finale being like incredible.
okay. That's all I care about. Um, yeah, it's just so funny. I kind of wish, well, I don't know, it's funny. Well, it is fine. So I'm glad we're in that again because then we're also watching like a few other shows to sleep or whatever. One is that Tournament of Champions
Oh,
that like
the Food
Guy
Network
Fieri.
thing.
Yeah,
I don't really like that one.
we can't watch a lot of it because it's so repetitive.
Yeah.
And but we're on like season 3 maybe, so we'll just watch like one episode every now and then, or like throw it on when we're doing stuff or whatever. And we've been watching Dragon Ball Kai, which is Dragon Ball Z, but they took out all of the filler stuff, and it's like really funny because we watched earlier this year, we watched Dragon Ball Super, which don't come for me, everybody, but it was not good. It's really funny because they take out like a bunch of they basically just like took out a bunch of filler stuff to like make it shorter so you could watch it. But they sometimes, I think that they took out too much because like sometimes they'll be there and they'll be like, okay, yeah, let's do this training or whatever. And then it'll cut to them being like extremely beat up, wearing like different outfits, but like in the same scene. And I'm like, hmm. But so whatever, that's been like nostalgic fun. And then they released another show called Dragon Ball Daima, which is like a new show, and I'm not super care about the story, but the animation is just like literally so incredible. So that's coming out like weekly or whatever. So we have like so many shows that we're just like casually watching. Oh, my holiday baking championship started for Christmas, and then there's a Holiday Wars, which is like the one where they do like the sculptures or whatever, started a while ago, so I caught up on those, and then randomly we watched Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Wolf.
Overall, not super great. There were a few things in it that we thought was pretty funny. Like, we laughed out loud a few times, but it's mostly just because Pirate Steve is so funny.
I think it's like it's a clever like premise.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I remember watching it, being like, I don't know, this is okay. But like everyone else fucking loves it.
I wouldn't say that we loved it. We actually honestly picked it to put on if we fell asleep. We didn't care because neither of us had seen it. And like I said, I think that there's some visual gags to it that are pretty funny, and I did think that the premise was funny. I just think that they focused too much on the other guy and like building a relationship with that like college girl. Like, I think they just focused too much on that, and if they wouldn't have, it would have been better.
It's one of those ones where I feel like if it was like a 30-minute short would be perfect. Because like the idea where like
and then like the twist I didn't feel like was needed.
I don't know if I remember the twist, but like isn't the thing that like the group of kids or whatever think Dale and Tucker or whatever are like out to kill them, and they accidentally are like killing themselves in like fucking ways or whatever, because they're just like, oh, these rednecks out in the woods are trying to get us. That's it. I really like that idea. It's kind of like that Cabin in the Woods is the same way, where I'm like, I think Cabin in the Woods is a really interesting premise that's like kind of just like fumbled a little bit.
Yeah.
Although I like the end of Cabin in the Woods, but like...
See, I need to rewatch that because I watched it when it first came out and I did not like it because I didn't like the ending. But maybe now that I've sat with the ending for like a decade or whatever, like I'll feel differently about the whole thing. I just need to rewatch it.
For me, I think it was like the writing is it's because I think Joss Whedon maybe wrote it.
Okay.
Maybe he's just the director. I don't know. There was something about it that I was like, this just feels not... There's something about it just is like a little off to me. But it's another one where everyone fucking loves it.
Everyone loves it, yeah. And because I hated it at the time and everybody loved it, I was like, well, I don't feel the need to rewatch it. But I feel very differently about movies now. Like, my taste has changed so much that I'm like, maybe I should give it another shot and like, I'll like it. But
I do fucking love the Chris Hemsworth character that goes to like ride the dirt bike off like over that fucking crevasse and just smashes into the fucking side of whatever dome they're in.
Yeah, yes. So like all that to say, like, I thought that this movie had a good premise. I think the gore was good, and I think the visual gags of the teenagers killing themselves was like pretty funny. The very first one, I don't know if you'll even remember this, but like the very first thing that happens is that how do you say his last name? Tudek?
Who I don't know. Oh,
Pirate Steve. Let's just call him Pirate Steve.
Yeah, I don't know. I know who you're talking about, but I don't know if I've ever even
I haven't
considered
either.
his real name in my life.
No, I mean, honestly, yeah. But he definitely, to me, is the star of the movie, like of the pair or whatever, even though the
Alan
movie... Tudyk, okay. Even though the other guy is like definitely posed as the main character, whatever. He, one of the very first things that happens is like, essentially these like college kids come to camp out in this woods, and they're like telling the story about how these like hillbillies like slaughtered a bunch of people. They go to Skinny Dip, of course, and one of the girls slips and falls in and hits her head, and she's like drowning. So they save her, and the friends see it from like across the lake, and they're just like, hey, we have your friend. And from their point of view, it's like, we have your friend, you know, like they think that she's been stolen. And so they all go to the cabin, and it looks fucking spooky, right? Because they just bought the cabin or whatever. And so Tucker, who is Alan, is out there like trying to do chores, and he's like he has a chainsaw and he's like cutting through the log, but there's like a hive of bees in there. So the bees swarm out and are like swarming all over him. And so the teenagers are like creeping up to the cabin, and he comes running around the like corner with the chainsaw, just like yelling, trying to get the bees out of his face. But they think that he's like coming after him with the chainsaw, and like the visuals of it was like so it worked so well. It was very funny. But yeah, I just think that like they spent too much time on like the quote unquote love interest part of it instead of just like the comedy bits or whatever. And then there's a twist at the end that I'm not going to give away, obviously, if people want to watch it, but I just felt like it was unneeded. But
I forgot that Katrina Bowden was in it. She's you watched 30 Rock, right?
Yeah.
She was Siri, like Liz's like 20-something-year-old assistant that's always being like thirsted after or whatever.
Yeah, she's like the main girl or whatever.
She's married to the singer for Armor for Sleep.
Weird.
Yeah, they met on like she got cast in the like Fall Out Boy Dance video, and he was in it, and that's where they met, and they ended up like falling in love and getting married.
Aww.
I remember finding that out, but like, fuck it, that's a weird like crisscross of people, because I just knew her from like 30 Rock.
Yeah.
I was like, how did she fucking come across the dude from Armor for Sleep?
Yeah, right. That's wild. And also Brandon J. McLaren was in it. He was the Red Ranger in the Space Force Delta Power Rangers. Mm-hmm. So I was surprised to see him also.
That name sounds familiar. What else is he in?
Is
he the dude in... I don't think it is. Hold on, I gotta see. Oh no, this is a different person. I was thinking, for some reason that name crossed in my brain with the guy from Eternals that's the gay guy in Eternals that they were just like, hey, it's our first fucking like gay character. Oh yeah, Brian Tyree Henry.
Sure.
I remember it's just like 3 names or whatever.
I was gonna say, anytime there's a person with 3 names, forget about it.
I think he might voice the dad in Spider-Verse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he's the dad, the voice of the dad that's like the cop in the Spider-Verse movies. Was that it that you watched?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got nothing. Basically everything I talked about in the episode that comes out next week. So essentially we're just in the middle of Survivor. Still, we're
Survivor 15 or something.
No, we're in season 20, which means we still have 27 to go.
Holy shit.
They're about to start airing, I think, season 48 here in a little bit.
Woof.
We're trying to get caught up to see if we could watch season 50, like, as it airs.
Live or whatever.
Because,
good luck.
I keep getting news stories in my Google feed because I'll, like, Google, like, as we're watching, I'm like, I want to know what this person's up to now or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, like, half my fucking news feed is just, like, Survivor shit, and they just keep teasing, like, big things for season 50, so... Other than that, like, we're kind of in the same thing where we're, like, in the middle of, like, 4 different fucking shows that are currently airing.
Yeah.
So it's just, like, the whole, like, wait for them to drop thing.
I absolutely hate watching stuff week to week.
I do, but, like, I'm pretty much always, like, you know, week to week on 90 Day Fiancé. And that, like, doesn't bother me but they also drop, like, 2 to 3 episodes a week sometimes between, like, their spin-offs. So it doesn't feel like it's as much of a wait. But it's like, there's like 3 Real Housewives series we watch that are constantly week to week and fucking...
I guess I don't...
Shit like that.
When I'm thinking about it, I don't mind it with my like baking stuff, which I consider to be reality. So I can see how with reality it's different. But if it's like a serialized show, like... You know I want to binge it. Yeah. Just give it all to me.
I think...
Sure.
I honestly... It's not really... I don't think there's like any serialized stuff that I actually keep up on anymore. Well, because we lost access to Hulu on our like living room streaming box. Mm-hmm. It just stopped letting Hulu upgrade on it, so we can't watch anything on it. We have to like...
Perfect.
Go in the living room for that. And Uh, so yeah, like almost anything. I don't think there's really anything sort of a scripted thing that like I even actively keep up with at this point.
Yeah.
That the world's terrible, so I'm just like I'm just gonna watch just shit I could fuck a zone out to.
Yeah, pretty much. I am
um,
I okay, so I'm reading through this book series that I read last year. Like, so this one author wrote three different book series, but there was rumors that at some point they were like in the same universe, even though there's like no connecting characters, the stories are different, whatever. But there was rumors that at some point they would um connect. And when I first started reading them, a the the third book in the third series came out, and so everybody was like doing all these like rereads because they're like, oh, I have to get ready for this one. And so the first book, the first new book in all of this whole series that's gonna come out like as I've been reading them comes out. There's rumors it's gonna be next year sometime, so I'm like, oh my god, I need to like finish. But the first series was like 5 books. Some of these books are like 700 pages or something. I'm on the second one now, and I'm doing this thing where two of the books, again, they're both like 700 pages. I'm like, wow, how can you have this much in your brain to say about this shit? Um, but the second series is like 7 books or something like that, but two of them take place at the same time. So these people are like, here's a breakdown of all the chapters for you to read so you can read both books at the same time, which is what I'm doing right now, and I feel insane. And then there's one more book after that, and then there's 3 more books, and those books are like more than 700 pages. And but I'm like, oh my god! And then saw it confirmed today that the new book that's coming out, you will have to have read everything, and I'm like, oh my god! Like, thank God I'm already doing it, but it's just a lot. It's a lot of reading. So that's why like I've mostly been doing that instead of like watching TV. So I'll just throw on like Kitchen Nightmares in the background because I've already seen it just for
yeah,
like the noise or whatever. But I feel like I'm like
yeah.
I feel like I'm like stress reading at this point, to be honest
I've
with you.
I've been very much like well because you know the state of the world
Yeah.
pretty bad, but like
Yeah.
also like work has been extremely fucking bad. So like I've just been either zoning out and listening to like noise stuff or listening to like fun podcasts. Like
Yeah.
I joined the 420 day fiance Patreon just to get like they've got like I don't know a handful of stuff in there that like were like bonus episodes that I never got to hear. So I just did that. So I've been like binging through that. And then like listening to just like dumb shit. Like I told Kid about it that comes out the episode next week. I caught up on 16th Minute of Fame, which I feel like I've at least maybe told you about. I couldn't remember if I'd ever
Yeah,
mentioned
yeah,
on the
yeah,
podcast.
yeah, yeah.
But like the last couple episodes were like a two.
Because you were talking about the dress.
Yeah, so the last couple.
Wait, what's it called?
16th Minute of Fame.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up right now.
It's really interesting. I think you would like it. It's like, but so like the last couple episodes, there was a 2-parter on William Hung, which was like really interesting, and then there was a 2-parter on Ken Bone, which I don't know if you would remember or know who that is, but he was like this dude that just took like the internet by storm during a town hall debate between like Trump and Hillary Clinton. That just like asked a question. He just had like a red sweater on, and then he was like one of those people that like everyone was like, "This guy rocks," and then they were just like, "Oh, he's got sketchy Reddit history," sort of thing. But like,
Uh-oh.
it turned out that like he's now turned out to be like pretty like staunchly on the left, which was like a really interesting turn. But there was an episode also about it was just called Moo Dang and the plight of the like of zoo animals or whatever, like viral zoo animals.
Yeah.
That was like I don't know, that podcast I find to be like Jamie Loftus does a lot of these podcasts where I'm like, this sounds dumb and ends up being so fascinating. Like she did like a mini series on sort of like the cultural effects of like the book Lolita and how like no
Woof.
one ever fucking like everyone that ever adapts it always adapts it from the wrong point of view, which is not the point of view of the book or whatever. But then, like, she followed that up with, like, one that I was like, I never in a million years would have thought what I would have been interested in, but it was the history of the Kathy comics, which was, like, so fucking interesting, and I can't, like, recommend enough. It was so good. And so, like, I heard her on a podcast talking about this, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I'll listen to that. And it's like, a lot of it has to do with sort of, like, how the algorithm of these social media places, like, sort of, like, make these things kind of go, like, the way the algorithm works with, like, things going viral. It's really, like, an interesting podcast all around. But yeah, that's kind of mostly what I've been doing to, like, escape fucking my brain.
Left Shark. Oh, overly attached girlfriend. Okay,
Yeah,
I followed it, so
really
now I'll remember. Yeah,
Left Shark was pretty fun as well.
Yeah, crazy. Anyway,
yeah. What do you want to shout out?
Oh man. Not this movie. I don't think I have anything.
Trying to think, because like I said, I just recorded with Kit like 2 days
Reading.
ago. Yeah.
Your local library.
Yeah,
Hoopla, Libby.
With a rainbow.
I'm telling you guys, I read 51 books last year. I've read 46 so far this year. I'm reading 3 right now, and I spent almost no money because I do Hoopla. I do Libby, which are both free library apps, and then also surprisingly Goodwill. Because you can get
you can find some pretty cool stuff at
I
thrift
found
stores.
Crazy stuff at Goodwill because it's 99 cents for paperbacks and $1.99 for hardbacks, and we get a lot too that are like in really good condition to donate, especially like right now for like the holiday season. There's a lot of like Angel, Toys for Tots, all of that stuff. I pretty much always do books because I feel like, I mean, toys are fun, but like books is where it's at. So
yeah, give them Goosebumps books.
Literally. So that was one of the jokes. That was one of the jokes that in the car when she was like asking him who's your favorite author, and he says R.L. Stein.
Oh, that's right. Terrible.
Stupid. But yeah, reading libraries, support them.
My shout out. Go watch Weird Al and Will Forte do a Chapel Roan cover on YouTube.
My God.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Will Forte, incredible singer.
Yeah, actually. I didn't know that.
He's one of those people that has a voice that's like not specifically good but works. If that makes, I don't know, that the video of him doing Chapel Roan is so good. Should have been our presidential ticket.
Will Forte?
Weird Al and Will Forte.
Yeah, I agree. I will say, I'm so sorry. I'm so tired of hearing about Chapel Roan and Sabrina Carpenter. I'm like,
I don't really care about Sabrina Carpenter, but I like Chapel Roan, and I like that she just yells at people.
Yeah, and like, obviously, the music is not for me, and like, I will, like, do you, right? But I just, like, don't need to see it.
No, yeah,
I don't need to see it like, you know what I mean?
It's because fucking everyone on like stan culture or whatever on fucking TikTok and Instagram and shit is the worst.
I will say at least I'm getting a reprieve a little bit from Taylor Swift. I at least find them not like they're fine. It's fine. But like, please.
Well, it also does like the thing is that she's like actively been railing against like shitty sort of fucking the same shit that was like sort of happening in the late 90s, early 2000s with Britney Spears, but like in like a more like smarter culture of just like paparazzi and being like, hey, like if I'm out in public, maybe don't fucking bombard me and shit. Like, it'd be nice. And like kind of actually saying this shit that like a bunch of people, like celebrities, were like not like didn't feel like they could say, I guess, maybe. And so I don't know. I really like that she's kind of like being really vocal about that. The footage of her at like the MTV Awards or whatever, fucking screaming at some camera dude for being a dick on the red carpet is so funny.
Yeah.
All right, next week, Kit and I watched a movie called Demon Within that rocks.
Oh.
It's
I thought you were doing Cats.
no, we got to wait till you're around for that.
No.
It's like this weird little like 50-minute fucking Japanese weird little guy thing that like I looked.
Oh, that's right.
I specifically like looked up on Letterboxd like gross monsters because I was like, oh, I'll see if I can find something like Katie would not want to watch. That's like a weird little guy movie, and it ironically turned into something I think you actually would like.
Yeah.
Well, you can still watch it. No one's stopping you.
That's true.
It's like it honestly plays like a Japanese version of a Tales from the Crypt episode. It kind of rocks, and it's got like a weird little puppet creature. All right, if you would like to support us, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/IPSufferPodcast. We should have a episode on Heathers soon, a bonus episode, and then
hell yeah,
go into December. Chris Kattanmus coming at you, everyone's favorite.
They're clamoring. They can't wait. It's the best time of the year.
Finally get to hear us talk about Corky Romano.
I cannot wait.
You can leave us a rating and review on iTunes and Spotify. You can follow us on Instagram at I Hope You Suffer Podcast. You can follow Kit at Hidden Kitstery and Kitrification of Blood. You can follow Katie at WerewolfFace and join Katie's Patreon at patreon.com/werewolfface. You can listen to my other podcast, 8K Movie Club, if you want. Go follow me on Blue Sky, since Blue Sky seems to be actually taking off now that everyone's fleeing Twitter.
Oh, man.
At Gordon Scramsey. Yeah. Demon Within next week. And then I think the week after that, yeah, we're doing Mac and Me, finally. Because all three of us will be around, so get excited for Mac and Me. We got Paul Rudd on.
I can't wait
to talk. Special guest Paul Rudd.
Only about Paul Rudd.
Whatever his name is on Parks and Rec.
Bobby Newport's never had a job in his life.
All right. Yeah, we'll be back. I don't know, something Thanksgiving, something awkward Thanksgiving. I got nothing.
I hope you never, ever, ever have to watch Awkward Thanksgiving.
I hope you fuck a turkey, but why?
No. Hasn't the turkey been through enough?
Yeah, I think it doesn't care at that point. I think once your head is not on your body and you've been...
You don't know that.
Yeah, that's true.